You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is we'll do it live. Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication. It's over 9,000.
My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't face me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing believer. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up.
All right, everybody, welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM. You're going to get the show twice because it's our Nerd to Know Media Wrestling Rewind crossover show with myself and Martin Herity. How are things, Martin?
How's she sagacity and Dara?
What was it? Fierce and rambunctious.
Fierce combunctious.
Fierce combunctious. There we go.
I'm going to make this a thing.
It's going to be a thing. I love it. But yeah, but it is the Christmas season. Again, like we didn't get to do a show for Nerd to Know Media this week. We're going to record it tomorrow. So if you're listening to this on Saturday, it's timey-wimey thing. You're getting the show anyway. So that's what's happening. And it is appropriate because this is the only show we're going to get to do before Christmas. Well, not us. We're going to be able to do a show, but for the listeners. Because Christmas is Saturday. So there might be a Christmas show on Saturday, but we wanted to kind of pop this out as kind of like a primer for Christmas week. It's very, very cool. Our Halloween special, Martin, went down really, really well. So I wanted to kind of share the love. And it's a shame Dave isn't here. He might be here. It could be a Christmas miracle.
Pity, yeah. Like just when we think we're in peril, he'll come swooping down the chimney.
I'm telling you, it's just like, that should be like a Christmas special. Where like Dave shows up with all the presents at the end or whatever.
I don't know why, but for some reason I see him in like long green and white striped stockings.
It's scary. That's exactly the way I saw him too. But yeah.
Even before we started talking about Christmas, that's just how I see him.
That's just how he is. No, that's fair enough. He's not here to defend himself either, so it is canon. But folks, if this is your first time listening to this version of Nerd to Know Media, this is a show called The Wrestling Rewind. We do it every Friday night. And of course, you can check it out on nerdtoknowmedia.com. And loads of different places, the True Penny Channel, etc., and here on Phoenix 92.5 FM at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. Usually we talk about WCW, WWE, not current WWE, AEW, ECW, whatever. But today, we're going to talk about wrestling or Christmas movies starring wrestling figures and also wrestling stars. So either people involved in wrestling or who are actually wrestlers. Two in particular. So Martin, before we get into it, so let's set the scene here, Martin. So there are so many wrestling movies, movies that, well, there are loads of wrestling movies as well now, but loads of Christmas movies that star wrestlers. And these range from terrible to really terrible to hilariously terrible. And we kind of picked two. I
think we delicately balanced both ends of the spectrum here.
I believe so. I really enjoyed our pick. I'm not gonna lie to you. And they were both actually for free on Amazon Prime.
Mad. One of them, Santa with Muscles, the not fun, terrible one, is actually even on YouTube in its entirety.
Oh, wow. So there you go, guys. Christmas presents all around. So you've let the cat out of the hat there.
Sorry.
For the first time being Santas with Muscles. And what's the other one, Martin?
It's Santa's Sleigh, SLAY.
Yes, and we are going to get into both in excruciating detail because they're just so fun. And again, it's the perfect time to really talk about them. But before we do that, we are going to keep things a little bit current for the moment. And Martin, we have some news. So the first news is obviously AEW, and then there's some WWE as well. So take it away.
Yeah. We just very briefly, because obviously we want to keep it seasonal and stick to the movies. But so the first big thing was Hangman Adam Page had his first title defense against Bryan Danielson at Winter is Coming. An unbelievable match. Two of them battered each other to a 60-minute draw, which doesn't sound great. Sounds like you've invested an hour and got nothing out of it, but it was done so incredibly well. It just flew by. And like, I'm saying that as someone who, I mean, you know, my all-time favorite wrestler is Bret Hart. And even I find the Iron Man match a bit of a slog sometimes.
Sometimes,
You know?
yeah. It depends what Iron Man matches are. Like, there's a difference between an Iron Man match and what did they call it, going Broadway?
Yeah. Because I suppose because kind of an Iron Man match, you know, you can just kind of clock out till the last 10, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah.
But no, this was phenomenal match. They paced it so well. It feels, I'm sure if I went back and watched it again, it's much more staggered or maybe slowly builds. But watching it live for the first time, it felt like they went balls to the wall from the start to the finish. A terrific ending. And it really answered, I thought, any questions that people had. You know, Hangman obviously had that babyface problem where it's all in the chase. And then once they get the title, it's maybe not as good as the chase was. But now this has, once again, AEW have completely flipped everything over in one episode.
Brilliant. One thing as well, I was expecting, or I wasn't the only one actually, there was someone who pretty much staked his entire YouTube career on that Bray Wyatt was going to show up at Winter is Coming. And yeah, I'm just like, oh well, okay, you've just kind of undone your entire credibility there. So,
but I don't know what I mean, because it was Brody Lee's birthday, or
no? Apparently, there are some promos that like with Tundum is coming, and it's just like that's a bit of a push, all right. But I don't know, like his this is the thing about fancy booking. This is why we don't do it, because it is fun. But then when you start believing it, and you leave reality, it's a bit dangerous. But look, I
nothing satisfies you if it's not exactly what you hoped. You know.
Exactly. Like, we talked a little bit about the new Spider-Man movie, and I did kind of, I've seen it. I'm going to go see it again for reasons. But, which if you follow my Twitter, which you should, at RWV, you'll see why.
It's a roller coaster.
I cover it in immense detail. But yeah, no, it's basically like I stayed away from a lot of the speculation and spoilers for that. Now I kind of knew what was going to happen, and then when it happened, you were satisfied, but you were more satisfied because you just let the story kind of fold out. I'm kind of doing the same thing with The Matrix, where I'm like, I don't know what this, I want to kind of just, because there is one thing about being invested, but then when you're invested too much, you build up something in your head too much, and then it's when it's not like that, you're a little bit disappointed, or when it's something different, you're angry.
I'm pretty confident that the Matrix reboot or sequel or whatever they're calling it is going to be pretty good, because if Keanu Reeves can make the reboot of Bill and Ted bloody watchable, like he can do anything. Like he can certainly make the Matrix good.
God, Keanu Reeves is the best. Like I'm you know what, right? So funny and true story. I actually dedicated my second thesis to Keanu Reeves.
For some reason I thought you were going to say child.
No, well, I haven't got a child yet. When I do, I might just call them Keanu, even if they're a girl.
Two of them, Keanu and Reeves.
Yeah, just struggle, just deal with it. You're fine. Actually, there's a really funny YouTuber called the Spiffing Brit, and he's hilarious. Well, he breaks games, and he had like a whole series on Rihanna. What's it? Rihanna Keeves, where it's like that's his character, and he's gone through Skyrim, breaking it and stuff. It's really good. I would seriously check out the Spiffing Brick guys if you're on YouTube. He's a lot of fun. Anyway, so yes, fair play to AEW for doing that. But nobody wants to see the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, or Barry Windham, whatever, as much as I do. I really do. But I'm like, I said this before. I'm gonna say it again. I don't think he's fit on AEW.
I'm 100% with you. I'm maybe not as high on him as you are, but I agree that the main reason I don't want to see him is just because I don't think
He can't wrestle.
he fit. Well, well. I mean, he's better than I was.
Well, look,
but,
but I mean, what I mean is like, I'm sorry, that's very disrespectful. What I mean is like, he's not a workhorse guy. He's not going to go and have a 5-star match with like Jungle Boy or going. It's not going to happen.
And Tony Khan dipped his toe into the paranormal stuff with Broken Matt Hardy. He did it one time and instantly regretted it.
But see, I think Impact has that kind of pool. And I've said it before. I'm not going to repeat myself, but I mean, like, you can do. Like, I do believe that again, because like Bray Wyatt was making $4 million a year according to the Observer, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, that was his contract. So he is making more than enough money, and it kind of ties into Kevin Owens, which we'll talk about in a second. He probably has more than enough money, so he doesn't really need to wrestle. And I've had reports that he doesn't really want to. But if he did, they could build an entire company, or they could build Impact around him, and he could do all that weird stuff that he wants to do, and then you could bring in other people, and I think it would be a draw. But bringing him in AEW again, like, listen, and this is for the AEW fans that just really want it. Think about what that would be. Where would he go? What would he do? It's just not a right fit.
It's the same kind of internal struggle I have with Danhausen. I love the character of Danhausen. I think he's awesome. And he's always like tweeting the AEW guys and winding them up. I'd like to see him maybe come on to do a TNT challenge or as a surprise one-off thing, but I just don't think he'd fit as a character on the show. It's
the WCW stuff again, and what I'd say is, listen, AEW fans that want that kind of stuff, go back and watch Dungeon of Doom. It's not good. It's not good. Real bad, actually. And it's just because when you have a workhorse central company, the sports entertainment stuff can only fly so far, and you can't push that barrier. Like, WWE gets away with it because it is not really. Wrestling has always come second in WWE, particularly in the Attitude Era, which on this show we do talk about a lot, actually. Wrestling's always been second. Undertaker and Mankind. We're not watching that for Mac Classics. Undertaker and Kane.
Boiler Room Brawl.
Yeah, you weren't watching that for a Mac Classic either. You're watching it for spooky, scary things and massive fight.
I'm in a Dragon Sleeper.
Oh man, I don't think Mick Foley could ever do a Dragon Sleeper. But yeah, and that's no disrespect to the lads. Like, obviously that was what they were doing, but like in WCW when they tried to do the same thing, and remember they had a much higher work rate guys in that company. Even in 1998, which we've talked about, 1996.
Oh yeah.
It just didn't fit. Like, the NWO was a perfect slot in because that was kind of just an extension of who they were. Kevin Nash being a not a nice guy, and Scott Hall also being not a nice guy, and Hulk Hogan really not being a nice guy. It was just kind of, they were just being themselves, right? But slightly turned up a bit. So I would say, look, AEW fans, chill a little bit and maybe harass Impact to get Bray. Actually, don't harass anybody, but you know what I mean. Like, just hope they get.
Stay off Twitter.
Yeah, no, Twitter's the worst thing in the world. Unless you want to follow me, which is fine. But like, you're just gonna hear me moan about my cinema experience for the next while. But anyway, so the next bit of news, Martin.
Yeah, so Kevin Owens, the source of much speculation is about where he was going to go next, has re-signed with WWE.
That was a bit of a Freudian slip there.
That was a touch. Yeah, I'll admit now, I would have liked to see him. I think he would have fit in really well in the company. He was doing a bit of teasing with his Mount Rushmore tweets a while back.
But Martin, do you know his contract?
I have heard it is
very good.
Bret Hart, WCW money.
It's not only the money thing. The money thing is interesting, but it also has a no cut policy, as in he can't be cut.
Well, that's okay. So that's actually brilliant. That should set a precedent. If you
absolutely
if you sign a contract with someone, they should have to have like a reason for cutting you, like a behavioral or So I actually really like that. I hope that sets a precedent going forward.
I hope so too. Like, because when I heard that, because I was listening to one of the YouTube news people, and they were saying that Meltzer was talking, because I haven't listened to the Observer yet, and yeah, Meltzer went through the contract, and pretty much it's, as I said, the money's great, but that is a really cool idea, because here's the thing: WDB could just go, oh, we're cutting more people. It's like, all right, well, there needs to be consequences for you just breaking contracts. So like with like the way it would be
with AJ Styles wasn't the whole part of AJ Styles, the reason that he signed with them was that they agreed to take on Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah.
And so he signed up to this thing, and they took on Gallows and Anderson, and then they just fired them.
Yeah, there needs to be some kind of or even like a monetary value, like 2 or 3 million for for the remainder of the contract or whatever.
Oh yeah, we're going to cut you. That's fine, but you have to pay out what was left. On
the contract. And then I think they'll be a bit more less a-holy, if you know what I mean, when it comes to things, because like it's not cool to do that. Like I don't know how they get away with that. Like I genuinely don't. But fair play for Owens to that. Look, he knows where his money is. He knows what's there. He knows he probably hasn't got that long left, and he's like, I might as well just make serious money here. And look, maybe when that contract's up, he might go to AEW.
Maybe. I was not a huge follower of PWG or anything like that, but from what I've heard, like early on in his career, Owens, or Steen as he was, really filled out his bump card. He really clocked that thing. Yeah,
with ladder war and stuff like that. Like, so
if he's 40 now and he's going take it handy in WWE for 4 or 5 years and taking 3.5 million every year. At the end of the day, he's a family guy. That's what he's got to put first.
Look, dude, I think when you've made a career of being in ladder wars, I don't think you want to do more ladder wars. You know what I mean? It's like, no thanks. Because
the one thing about AEW is, like, by all accounts, from what we hear, is it's a great company. The locker room's really happy. Everybody's getting on well. But when you go there, they expect you to work.
Yeah, and actually work. Like, not... See, that's again, like, if Bray shows up, they're like, all right, cool, spooky stuff, but...
Yeah, go out and do 60 minutes with Bryan Danielson.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, they're not going to fly. Now, some sad news as well. Jeff Hardy has been cut.
Yeah.
And we haven't got a chance to talk about that because we haven't obviously done a show in a while. Jeff Hardy, the video was bizarre, man. He was in this house show. I think it was in Texas. I could be wrong. But it was a house show anyway. And he just gets up and leaves. And it's so bizarre. And you're like, all right, bye. Turns out it was substance abuse. WDB were like, you need to go to rehab.
Because what I'd heard was that the reason they cut him was because he wouldn't go to rehab.
But he
had told them he didn't need rehab. And Matt Hardy has come out and said that, no, Jeff. So I don't know what I don't like making claims.
No, that's fair. No, that's fair. But from all the sources I have, which are the sources that are publicly available, I don't know Jeff Hardy, right? But
just Matt.
Well, long-time listeners will know my experiences with Matt. And another thing, it's usually been positive. Not with Gary though. Gary and Matt had some run-ins, but I know I've talked to Matt Hardy before. He actually is a really nice guy, and I know Matt, so not a bad guy. But I don't know him personally, so I'm not gonna message him. But what I will say is, from what I've read and what I've heard, Jeff Hardy just got up and left. There was suspect substance abuse as a result of that.
Right.
And then they said, look, you need to go to rehab and sort this stuff out. And he said no. Now here's what's interesting, right? He was let go in 2003 for the exact same thing. And that's how he ended up in Impact, or TNA as it was called at the time. And then he actually had a pretty good run in Impact, but...
He did, until he fought Sting for the title.
Well, no, this was his first run in TNA. And then he
he
came back, and then he had that was his run that ended up with him being arrested. And I actually... Funny and true story. So somewhere in this pile of whatever,
treasure
trove, Aladdin's cave or whatever. I have a poster from a TNA show in Dublin, And it was supposed to have Jeff Hardy there. This is the infamous show where Gary had to go to Matt Hardy. And there was a poster saying, due to illness, Jeff Hardy will not be here, but he's replaced by the Icon Sting. And I actually said to the bouncer, look, can I have that poster? And he's like, yep. So I have it and I got it framed. So it is somewhere here. But that was obviously the same weekend that Jeff Hardy, or sorry, it was a year out from Jeff Hardy being arrested. But obviously when you're arrested, you can't do international travel for a while. So that's why he wasn't allowed to come over to Ireland. So for me, I'm like, oh, this is really unfortunate because it spells that Jeff's in trouble again. But also some wrestling fans are like, oh, he's going to come to AEW. I'm like, do you really, if he is in trouble, I'm not saying that he is or whatever, but, you know, there was some substance abuse reported, so that's all we have to go on. Do you really want that Jeff Hardy in AEW? Like, Impact Jeff Hardy in AEW? No, you don't. No. I think it's very irresponsible for people.
Jeff is someone I kind of see a wee bit like Danhausen in that I'd 100% bring him in for like a one-off Hardy's reunion or a very, very short, controlled run. But I don't need to see a Jeff Hardy is all elite poster.
Here's one for you. Who's the tag team champions at the moment in AEW?
It is the Lucha Bros.
So you could have a crossover Full Metal Mayhem match with those two teams. Not even AEW. You have an Impact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something like that is kind of happening. So obviously, other big news you never got to talk about is ROH is no more,
Yes,
or at least until April when we see what they reform as. But on the final show, which I have yet to watch, although I have it downloaded, apparently there's a big interaction between the Briscoes and FTR.
Oh,
so
cool.
There's some kind of crossover happening there.
You know, and I do see more of that kind of happening, you know, with the Forbidden Door being open and kind of wedged open now.
It's fantastic. And cool. It works for all companies because if you have some guys who are, you know, really well known, really hot, but maybe you don't have them in a storyline, bang, instant storyline. You get 4 weeks out of it, easy. Bring someone else in and...
But like, I don't know, I think like with and we will kind of shift gears now going into the Christmas stuff, but with Tony Khan, if he wanted to expand his portfolio, buy these smaller companies and use them as separate territories. Doesn't even need to tell anybody. Just buy them and then just be like, right, do what you're doing. But we're going to, you know, have these crossovers. Or even just, you know, work out a deal with them where you're like, okay, we share talent or whatever, or we have big events once a year or once or twice a year.
I prefer that to buying them. I just don't want to see AEW go the direction of WWE.
See, the main thing about it is, and this is what I'm saying to you, the main thing is creative control would have to be seeded away. So obviously Tony Khan is just not there. The money goes to him or whatever, you know? And that's kind of how, like the territory system, it seems like we're trying to get to a stage where it's back and up and running. And either that's, you know, and the thing of it is, I think like if WWE weren't so tight-fisted about it, you would have got this way sooner. But I think now AEW kind of being the number two, clearly the number two, Impact being a feeder to AEW or its own thing. There's no reason why Ring of Honor can't be like a feeder system to AEW, but where other talent can go when WWE again fire more people, and it's like it's its own thing. But to be fair, I think having Ring of Honor being its own kind of thing, but like closer to AEW than to being like say Impact, that would be cool because then it's a brand which you can watch, kind of like FCW or NXT. It's a brand where you can watch. You can, you know, it's there. It doesn't really interact that much with AEW, but then when it does, you're like, oh wow, and then they can come up and then they have their new stars being made at the same time.
Do you have any insight into what exactly is happening in April? So this seemed very much like the end of Ring of Honor.
Yeah, like the only insight that I have is that it is pretty much done. We've known for a while that a lot of the contracts are pretty much either furloughed or finished, or they're just
they were
waiting
all released. Like
all released. Yeah. So basically, there was no one working for
they
Ring
were
of Honor.
sound. They like paid people out for the next.
Yeah, basically what WWE didn't do, which is shameful. But and that was kind of it. And then there was different tributes and all that kind of stuff to the end of it. So effectively, it's a dead company. Now, for long-time fans or fans that aren't familiar with Ring of Honor, this is the exact situation that WCW was in, or even ECW actually. But I don't know what the bankruptcy is, or the books are like. I don't know if they have bankruptcy. I don't think they are bankrupt. So it's a combination of those two, where they're a name, they have a tape library, they have no talent on the books, and they have no TV. So, well, one of two things could happen here. They get bought by WWE.
I was literally just thinking,
which could happen.
Just for the tape library,
and for the branding and for all that kind of stuff. Which
would now? So I'm kind of torn between whether WWE would want them or not, because on the one hand, you'd have all the classic Punk and Danielson matches, but on the other hand, does WWE want people to see all the classic Punk and Danielson matches?
This is 10 years ago. You can bet your bottom dollar he would have been right there. Punk, Danielson, Tyler Black, literally they're. I think AJ Styles was there for a little bit as well. He literally goes.
I was never a big ROH guy, but like I've known like just
Samoa
huge
Joe
names.
The list goes on and on. We can sit here all day, right? But yeah, they would have. However, now I think there's a higher possibility that. Well, look, there's still a 45% possibility that WWE could go on and buy this, and if it's low enough, they probably will go on and buy it, right? But assuming that doesn't happen. Because WWE do this. They're just like, oh, we'll buy this, right? What could happen then is they could reorganize themselves into a smaller division. And I do think it is going to happen. A smaller division under either Impact or AEW. I do think that's going to happen. But either way, depending on whoever signed the checks, they're going to reorganize themselves into a smaller division where it is kind of a fourth brand or fourth company in the US. And that's going to happen in April, but do not discount the fact that WWE could just come in and go, we own you, bye. Because they might.
It'd be mad if they ended up paying more for Ring of Honor than they paid for WCW.
Well, it depends, right? Because WCW was bought, I think it was for $5 million.
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous. It was scandalous.
Change.
So I don't know what Ring of Honor's valued at, but it doesn't have any assets. It doesn't have any talent. All it has is just, the only assets it has really is a tape library. I don't even know if
that's basically all they bought WCW for. No,
WCW had contracts on rings.
Oh, it had, but they didn't have it. Like they didn't have any intention of using them. Like they got rid of most of the WCW guys shortly after they took them on. And
no, I mean like all the props and the rings and everything. WWE got that as well.
Okay, yeah.
So they actually had like hard assets there.
So Ring of Honor doesn't have a ring.
I don't know. They might not.
It's just of honor.
It's just of honor. We had to sell the ring to pay everybody. But hey, look, at least they paid people in ECW. They didn't. ECW
super sound.
There's no money.
And the whole way through the pandemic, they were amazing. They were probably the best company during the pandemic. They just shut everything down and they kept everybody paid.
Oh, Impact were pretty good though as well, to be fair.
Did Impact do similar?
Oh, well, Impact kept going, but he paid everybody. He let anyone go.
Yeah.
But look, as I said, I think one of those two situations probably very likely. I would be shocked if WWE did that, because I think it would just kind of be like twisting the knife, because you would never see that. Now with the network kind of moving towards Peacock, it would kind of build up going, oh, we have this as well. If you want, we throw it in as a content, because content is king in stream wars. So
I'll tell you, when this just occurred to me. So AEW is currently in the process of building up a library to launch a streaming service.
Yeah. And
wouldn't Tony Khan love to have all the best Punk and Danielson and Samoa Joe matches?
And this is why I'm saying there's 55% that's going to get bought by AEW and done something with it. And if there is that, well, there you go. It makes way more sense for them to buy it. But I think the name Ring of Honor is done as far as new content, but that tape library is still it's
Yeah.
still a prize to have. But we will keep an eye on. We will have a look. But I think April 2022 is going to be an interesting point. But Martin, let's
Yes.
shift gears. Let's shift gears now. So
Away
folks,
from this nonsense. We're merry.
to other nonsense. So I think next week it will be like the Christmas Eve when we're recording this, but we'll probably do something beforehand, or we might replay this. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So this is going to be our Christmas show for the time being. We'll do something. So let's start with the not so good.
Yeah. So your sliding scale was terrible, truly terrible, and hilariously terrible.
Yes. Yeah. So this was on the truly terrible. This is like pretty much unforgivable, right? But I want to talk about some of the movies. I want to mention some of the movies that we didn't talk, so aren't on this list, right? So, believe it or not,
dishonorable mentions.
So dishonorable mentions, right? So, believe it or not, there is a Jingle All the Way 2, as in a sequel to Jingle All the Way.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh wait, hold on. And it's a wrestler.
It's a wrestler.
Right. Let me guess.
Go on.
Wait, what year was it made?
I think it's 2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It's not like The Miz or something, is it?
Oh, you're so close. You're so close.
Oh.
You're so close. All right. So for anyone who doesn't know, Jingle All the Way is a movie from the 90s with Sinbad, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Phil Hartman, who was the voice for pretty much all the Simpsons characters, like Troy McClure, and stuff like that, right? Really funny guy, and he is in the movie, and it's one of his only like face appearances outside of
live
SNL and
action
stuff. Yeah, he's in SNL and stuff, but yeah, look, so everyone, Jingle All the Way is one of those movies that everyone have seen, where Arnold Schwarzenegger has to go buy a toy for Anakin Skywalker, the child Annie, and yeah, that's basically it, right? But there's a sequel to it, right? And the sequel is about 10 years after, and it features. Actually, sorry, the first one apparently features the young Big Show. Fighting Arnold.
He does.
Yeah, he's fighting.
Oh my god, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't even know that.
I can't believe I didn't think of that.
So
yeah, he is in it.
He's in it briefly, but this is the time where like the Big Show's in like random movies like The Waterboy and stuff like that as well. Captain Insano.
He's great in The Waterboy.
It's very good. Okay, so this movie not only has so basically it's Larry the Cable Guy, who isn't a thing over here but is in the US apparently, and it features not The Miz, Santino Marella.
Oh, in Arnold Schwarzenegger's role?
No, Larry the Cable Guy is.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. So at least, if nothing, if all he got out of wrestling was getting punched by Jim Cornette, at least he got his Screen Actors Guild card.
There you go. The next one does have The Miz in it.
Ugh.
Santa's Little Helper features Paige, The Miz, and Maurice.
I was about to go Santa's Little Helper. That sounds like a porno, and then you were like featuring Paige, and I was like, oh god,
what kind of show is this? And yeah, just kind of it is the promo image that they use doesn't help things. This is from Sportskeeda. It's a listicle by Michael McLeod. So if you guys want to follow along at home, you totally can.
Is that Sportskeeda?
That's the one, yeah.
I always pronounce it as Sportskeeda. But yeah, it makes more sense that it would be sports.
Keeda, yeah.
I'm an idiot. Sportskeeda. I was going, what the hell is a skeeda?
So here you go. So they pulled the inspiration quote from the movie. I can live without the girlfriend, but the car and I are in love, as the Mrs. Car is repossessed.
Cool. That reminds me of that Shania Twain song. She goes, I can't believe you kiss your car goodnight.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Well,
but whatever way in her accent, it sounds like she's going, I can't believe you kiss your cock at night. It's just, I was like, how do they play that on the radio? Sorry, you're probably going to have to edit that.
I'm going to have to edit that out. It's okay. It's all right. I won't edit it out for the podcast, just for the radio.
Yeah. We'll not scandalize Phoenix FM.
At 5 in the afternoon. So here's another one. Christmas Bounty, starring The Miz.
Oh my God.
He's in loads of movies, and they're all terrible. They're all terrible.
Well, one of the things I was going to point out was whenever we get into Santa with muscles, people need to remember that whenever Hogan started referring to himself as Hollywood Hogan, this is what it was. It wasn't major blockbusters that were hugely successful.
No,
it was mostly this kind of crap.
Yeah, it wasn't The Rock. Like this is why nobody believed The Rock was going to be successful, because his only counterpart was Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan made garbage tier. In fact, after watching Santa with Muscles, which has 2 cameos, it has Brutus the Barber Beefcake, which again I don't know why he's in everything that Hogan does. Everything. The man just shows up and
for no reason racist.
Well, because he probably is in real life.
Well, yeah, okay.
And sorry, Brutus, but the company you keep, Hogan's on, still blocked by Hulk Hogan.
It's like that bit of Father Ted is. It's like it's the Japanese he's after.
Oh man. So yeah, look, I don't know. Like, I don't know where to start with this one.
With Santa for Muscles.
So we're starting with Santa with Muscles. So this is at the low tier. This is like I'm going to watch Jingle All the Way 2 and come back and be like, hey, actually we might watch Jingle All the Way 1 and 2 for next week.
Yeah.
But okay, just where do we start with this?
Well, I tell you where we start. We start with Hulk Hogan's bizarre comb over.
Yes.
Or whatever it is they've done. So he has short hair in the movie, which is already weird. But they've done, it's either a wig or plugs or a comb over or something. But it looks so strange.
I don't know. His normal hair looks weird. The little doll hair that he has normally.
Yeah, but he's had that huge bald patch around his head since he was, I assume, about 12 years old. He doesn't seem to age.
Yeah, no,
it seems like he's been 50 his whole life.
He does look really old in this movie, and the short hair looks bizarre, but it's not really.
But it's the fact that they've filled in everything else.
It's very weird. Like, I don't know. I would assume Santa, but he's supposed to be a food fitness guru, right?
Mm.
But Santa is supposed to have like longer hair, so surely they would have like left it a little bit longer. That would have made some sort of sense.
But also, he's Hulk Hogan. He's incredibly recognizable. Like,
but he doesn't really look like Hulk Hogan. He looks like someone who should be on a list. Like a list you don't want to be on, like a bad list.
But I tell you one thing I did like about this was the very beginning of it reminded me an awful lot of WWF in the early 90s. So
it does have a whack of WWF off in the 90s, yeah.
Well, it starts off with Hogan's hiding in the bushes, and then he jumps out he's outside this like a big mansion, and he jumps out and he baits up a chef, and then he baits up a gardener, and then he baits up a chauffeur driver. And it reminded me of like WWF in the early 90s, where everyone's gimmick was just a job. A job,
yeah. Like
it was just Hogan do what he does. He's just baiting up the goon and baiting up, Duke the drumster Drosy, and baiting up Tom the accountant, and it was just him baiting around a load of lads with part-time jobs.
So here's the plot, right? Blake Thorne, Hulk Hogan, is a conceited self-made millionaire who sells bodybuilding supplements and equipment that have his picture on them.
Which is risky, because this was around the time of the steroid trial.
This is literally just Hogan. Like, this is just him. One day, while recklessly playing paintball, he's targeted by the police and is chased to the shopping mall, where he hides putting on a Santa costume. Okay, and then he ends up bangs his head and he has amnesia. Mistaken by Lenny as a mall Santa, because Okay. Blake begins to think he really is Santa Claus. Meanwhile, the evil scientist tries to take over an orphanage in order to gain access to magical crystals underneath.
It's
It's mad.
this movie starts off like a daft Christmas movie, and then about 20-25 minutes into it, it just loses the run of itself.
So the plot there. So I'm reading this off Wikipedia, and I was waiting for when the madness comes in to see if how they handle it, and it's literally as car crash as it sounds. Like the first 20 minutes are kind of like, oh, it's like Beverly Hills Cops, like a bad version of it, and then they literally have an evil scientist.
I wound this back because I was sitting watching it and I thought I had some sort of an aneurysm because I was watching it and then it completely changed into a different movie. Suddenly, even the filter on the camera was different.
It's like it's like they took two movies and just kind of like.
So I actually had to stop and rewind it to make sure that there wasn't something I missed. I was like, am I so addicted to my phone that I was like subconsciously looking at it and missed a key piece of dialogue or something? No, it just jumps to this entirely different movie.
So these magical crystals are underneath, and he dispatches henchmen to destroy it, right? Blake, after discovering that being Santa has made him a better person, and that the evil scientist wants to destroy the orphanage that he grew up in because of reasons, he saves the children, and then the orphanage is destroyed, and then he opens up his mansion as the new home for orphans.
There you go. Well, I tell you what, I didn't know this. This is actually the acting debut of Mila Kunis.
Yes, it is.
And she had no idea who Hulk Hogan was.
Well, all I can say, one of my proudest achievements is that I'm blocked by Hulk Hogan on Twitter.
Blocked?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I made a joke about something, about his whole video that he released. He got really upset.
Do you know, I'm blocked by Jim Cornette.
Oh, brilliant.
I have never in my life messaged the man, sent a tweet about him, tagged him, and I don't know how, but I've been blocked by Jim Cornette.
So Fozzy played in Ireland recently, and I didn't go see them because I'm still upset that I'm blocked by Fozzy because I gave them a bad review. I don't know why. Jericho, come on. Like, it was fair.
I wouldn't go to see Fozzy because I'd only be going for Jericho, and I get the impression that whenever he's in Fozzy mode, he doesn't want to hear about wrestling.
He still wears the jacket though.
What, the Painmaker or the?
Yeah, no, the lighting up jacket. He still wears it.
Oh, right.
He's aware.
I didn't know.
He's aware. He knows what's going on. He knows why people are there. So, all right. So, Martin, Santa with muscles. Is it a watch or is it a complete miss?
It's a watch it fly out the window into the ocean, and then the ocean be boiled by climate change.
Fair.
It's the only thing is about it that somehow we picked two Christmas movies with wrestlers, and in both movies somebody fires a bazooka at Santa Claus. I don't know how that has happened. This
is a fair point, but then again, they are both. You see, okay, yeah, I don't even have anything for that. Yeah, no, it's very weird.
It's
very weird. I don't even have anything for that. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's just something I noticed, and it just made me go, yeah, America.
Well,
everyone has a bazooka.
Well, the second one was Canadian.
Oh, is Santa's sleigh Canadian?
Well, it's Canadian American, but we're gonna say it's Canadian.
Okay. Oh, damn Canucks.
And it's based in Alberta as well. So.
Oh, well, there you go. Didn't know that. That's my casual racism put in its place.
So, look, I would say the next one, Santa Sleigh, is the one to watch. It's a lot more fun. We like horror movies, obviously. It's far more self-aware than Santa. Almost like you can tell Hogan's like, oh, I'm a superstar, and Goldberg's like, this movie's ridiculous, but I'm having a great time. So and he goes full in. So I'm going to read the plot as is. And look, the last plot was like 4 lines. This is actually like a properly detailed plot on Wikipedia. So, right.
Which is mad because
It's mad.
just a simple film.
It's a simple slasher movie, but it does actually have not only the bazooka, it does feature 2 cameos again. So it's Bill Goldberg and Tiny Zeus Lister. So Zeus is in this.
Yes, he is. I actually have a wee note about his scene, but go on.
So sorry, I'm just I'm reading this article. It's really funny. Right. So what's the best? So this has a lot of things in it. It has has a lot of lore in it and like redefining Santa Claus. Right. Just to give it this right. So apparently Santa was the result of a virgin birth produced by Satan. And Christmas was the day of
Satan, we assume the man.
So basically Santa's the Antichrist apparently. And Christmas was the day of slaying for Santa until 1005 AD when an angel defeated him in a curling match and sentenced him to deliver presents for 1,000 years. And that means that in 2005, and this movie was shot in 2005, that Santa can kill again.
My ears did briefly prick up the first time I watched it when they were like, oh yes, and this archangel defeated Santa in a hurling match. I was like, what?
Hurling? Is he from... Is the archangel from Kilkenny?
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, everywhere's icy. Curling would make more sense.
Make more sense. But this movie's mad. So basically, after that setup, it's basically Bill Goldberg doing some glory kills until what, real Santa Claus comes back.
Yeah,
is that right? And then
so this is bizarre from the start. So I mean,
like a priest shows up at one point with a bazooka, as you mentioned, and then it ends with Santa looking over his naughty list, and he actually says, "Who's next?" which I did enjoy.
But even so, my jaw hit the floor about 30 seconds into this film, and it just remained there for the next. Oh, one good thing about it was the film is 74 minutes long.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's actually perfect movie length. Like, also has Fran Drescher in it, which is weird. Anytime she's in a movie or anything, she was the nanny.
But here's the thing, it actually has a surprisingly decent cast. Like, it has a real B-list cast of well-known actors, but you might know their names.
You know them to see. You
sit there
them in
going,
things.
oh, that's what do you call him?
That guy. And her face.
But the film starts off with this family sitting around dinner, and this is before any murderous Santa Claus shows up, and it is already bizarre. So there's this weird father giving out about the turkey.
Right.
And he's giving out to his wife about the turkey, while this other guy, who I can only assume is related, why else would he be there at Christmas dinner, is trying to convince his wife that he's not cheating on her, while at the same time, under the table, he's burying himself into the father's wife. It's mental. And then Goldberg shows up and kills them all. It's just... And it only accelerates from there.
It has so many weird overtones. It has so many weird scenes. I really enjoyed the Book of Claus.
Yes.
Which is where we get the crazy origin story and the lore, which for me now is canon.
Do you know what I think part of it was?
Go on.
I think 2005, I don't know if you remember that time period.
I do. It was the best time in the world.
Around 2005, random humor was really big. People just doing or saying random things, and this is this parts of this smacked a lot of like an SNL type randomness.
Well, it's funny you mention it because there's lots of SNL guys on this.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
because it actually doesn't feel like a full movie. It feels like a lot of disjointed skits, with
Yeah,
kind of an overarching theme.
Yeah, that's true. It does feel like the budget on this. I don't think it was very high. It also didn't do extremely well, but
You can kind of tell when the budget runs out because the film ends just very abruptly.
it does. But the thing about it is, um, the reviews for it, while they were saying it's not great, they said it's kind of fun, and it is fun. Now, need to say, in the third act, it falls apart, which is really fair. That's when the movie just kind of, as you said, it ends abruptly. And it's like, okay, it's kind of done. But look, I would say if I had to pick to watch one of these for Christmas, and I suppose we watch two of them, I'm probably going to watch them again because it's a lot. Well, I'm never watching Santa with Muscles again. But I will.
Money.
No, there isn't dollar amount in the world. But I would watch Santa Sleigh again because it is a lot of fun. It is one of those
100%.
movies where you're like, I like Goldberg, not really as a wrestler, but I do think he has some value.
Well,
But
for
it's
me,
great.
it was just nice to see Goldberg kill something other than Bret Hart and Bray Wyatt's careers. So that was
He did redeem himself there in Saudi Arabia with Bobby Lashley.
Okay, maybe I don't know. I haven't been following that closely.
No,
But,
come on, that one match where he totally redeemed himself, which was like a surprise.
Was that
for
the
everybody.
one where Lashley mangled his son afterwards?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good match. Come on now. We have to give.
I'm not saying it was bad. I genuinely don't remember. I
No.
remember the thing with the kid, but that's it.
Well, where he was acting worse than David Flair.
That's
laughing
harsh.
the
Now you can't
It's
give out
true.
to me for not being fair, and then invoke David Flair.
I apologize for not mentioning his name. Oh,
But
no.
so the film is, it's a totally bizarre mix of different skits, different weird comedy stuff, and then like hyper violence. Like
That's what I said.
real-
It's like Doom level glory kills, where it's like it just happens, and you're like, oh my god, he just like decapitated that dude. I was saying, what are you not gonna?
with no warning. Like some
No.
of it's really gruesome.
Yeah,
And then
very very violent.
Santa goes to a strip club for a bit and turns into rapey claws. he's very grabby and talking about how, although here's one thing that confused me about the film. So he walks into the strip club, he's all real laddish about it, boobs everywhere, he's loving that. A waitress walks past and he slaps her arse, and another one walks past and he grabs her and kisses her. And then he jumps up, there's one on a swing, and he jumps up and he like buries his face between her legs and swings across the room. And then he lands on the stage. And then another stripper swings down the pole. And some guy comes running at him, one of the security guys come running at him to tackle him. And Santa goes to grab the pole to fight him. But because the stripper's just been on it, he goes, and then he pulls disinfectant out of nowhere and wipes down the pole. It's like, which is it? Are you a lecherous creep, or are you like this germophobic?
Maybe he's worried about COVID.
Maybe, yeah. But then, don't be burying your head into women on swings.
This is a fair point too. I'd say I have to call out a pretty unique kill. When he goes into the delicanescent and kills your man with the menorah. Like, what is going on?
But your man first starts throwing what looked like
meat.
sweets at him. But
No, it's
is
meat. It's a delicanescent. Yeah, he showed him like bits of meat at him.
But they're like smashing the window, and
It's hard German meat, dude.
it's a bizarre film. It's like they sat around and thought, let's think of some funny stuff for Santa to do. And then someone comes up with a funny thing for Santa to do. And then they go, okay, how do we weave that into the storyline? And they go, don't, just put it in.
No, but it's a much more comprehensive plot because at the end it reveals that Grandpa is actually the angel who beat Santa.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It has a much more comprehensive plot than Santa with Muscles, because that just feels like two movies smashed together. This feels like random skits that have a plot kind of going through it, but it takes you to different places. It's like, do you ever get the night bus home from Dublin? It takes you around everywhere. And then you're like, okay, I'm home. But you went to like 7 different housing estates that you normally don't go to. That's what this movie kind of felt like.
There you go. If ever a blurb should have been on the DVD, it's like the night bus home from Dublin.
You'll get there, but it'll take you to some weird places.
I think my favorite kill was so Santa's out killing all these people and murderous rampage.
He does murder a lot of people.
Oh, so
many people.
It's like that scene at the end of American Psycho where he's confessing to his lawyer. He's like, I guess I killed a lot of people. But no, then out of nowhere, for no reason, it cuts to a Christmas morning scene with this family and these kids. Santa's nowhere to be found. He hasn't been there. He doesn't show up. And the kids take out their presents and they open their presents and the presents explode. And then there's these two headless children's carcasses just spurting blood. And then it just cuts back to the movie. And you're like, all right.
You know what, right? So there's that new Santa Inc. or whatever that's been like torn apart on the internet for like several reasons. And I would still think this is more like funny than Santa Inc. I think this has a bit more to say. By saying nothing, it's absurdist humor. And as I said, like, it does kind of, now you mention it, it does capture that 2005 feel where it's like, these could have been like random skits on the internet where they're like, oh, sure, look, we'll make a joke. And there's nothing more to it than it's Santa going and killing people, and it's kind of funny, but also gloriously grotesque at the same time. Like,
and
this is very dark. It's not
yeah.
dark though, but certain points are quite dark. Like that kid scene, yeah, it's pretty dark, all right.
Well,
but,
I think it's more gruesome than dark.
Fair, okay, I'll give you that. Give you that.
But I think what I loved about it was that the lore you talked about, where it explains why Santa is this way, doesn't happen until like halfway through the movie. So you get all these murders, just that you're just for no reason Santa's just doing this. It's with no explanation.
I like that more though.
Oh yeah, it was like this is. I would happily watch this again. Happily.
So another one is Fran Drescher from The Nanny gets drowned in eggnog.
Oh yeah.
And he uses a ninja star to kill someone from a Christmas tree. Brilliant.
One of the best bits in the movie is, you mentioned Zeus is in it, Tiny Lister. This isn't like a particularly gruesome bit or anything. It's just some terrific acting. Or maybe it's not even the fault of the acting. Maybe it's just the way they cut it. But so the kid runs into the shop and he goes, oh, I'll have some chewing gum. And he goes, oh, we only have one kind of chewing gum. And then there's some joke about the chewing gum. It's like called, I don't know, chewing bum or something. It's just some terrible for no reason joke. But anyway, he goes, how much is that? And Tiny Lister is the cashier. He says, oh, it's $2.50. And he gives him $5. And then he overhears a thing about Santa. And he goes, oh man, I gotta go. And then Tiny Lister stood there and goes, wait, you forgot your change. And the dude stood there. He's, whatever way they've cut it, he's still there. And then it cuts to him running off. It's just bizarre. So the dude runs off, and then Tiny Lister looks at the change and he's like, oh yeah, man, Merry Christmas. Like, but it's like $2.50.
Doesn't he set someone on fire randomly at some point as well?
Oh, and it's a really gruesome one. Yeah, he sets a woman on fire, and then she's running around screaming on fire, and then they've gotten like prosthetics where she has this half-burned body.
Oh man!
And then he finishes her off. I don't know. He stabs her. It's mental.
Again, Doom level glory kills. Like, he's having a great time with this. So I would say, look, Black Christmas was a good slasher movie as well, which actually, if you haven't seen it, the old one's pretty good. I haven't seen the new one. It came out a couple of years ago because I think it came out during COVID. But Black Christmas is pretty good actually. And it's kind of like a similar thing, but just some dude dressed as Santa killing people. This is actually supposed to be Santa. The Santa.
Yeah.
So it does kind of have a bit more nuance to it in that sense. But
and it does have like just the Deus Ex Machina of all Deus Ex Machina endings. Like, this dude just happens to have a bazooka and he's like, oh, hey, remember you got me a bazooka for Christmas? This is like, all right, why not? Like, sure.
Where does one get a bazooka for Christmas?
In
I don't even know.
Alberta, apparently. You got big moose over there. You gotta kill and cook the moose in one shot.
Well, I suppose it saves time. Oh man. So yeah, look, this gets a hard recommendation for me. If you're sick of normal Christmas movies and you want to watch something that's a bit more unique, I would say watch Santa Sleigh. It's not long. It really isn't. It flies by, and it's so weird that you're like, you know what you do? Watch this at Christmas Eve, have a couple of beers, and then go to mass. Yeah, there you go.
In fact, there's a good game in there. Like, see how many beers you can get in the time it takes to watch. Do you know what it's like? It's like a rampage. Like, even if you don't like it, it's gonna be over pretty quickly. So
yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a good time. But look, as I said, next week we might continue this. We are going to continue this. We're going to watch Jingle All the Way 1 and 2, because we have to now at this point. And I want to watch Jingle All the Way 1. I haven't seen it in a while.
I remember it. I think it's another hilariously bad one. I think I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I think either way we'll watch it and we'll compare it with the new. Because think of it as we know Big Show's in it, so we can still get away with it. It's fine. But don't watch Santa with Muscles. In fact, watch anything else but Santa with Muscles.
Yeah, watch Hogan's sex tape before you watch Santa with Muscles.
I'm not going to add to that as a recommendation. But anyway, folks, again, for the new listeners on Phoenix 92.5 FM on Nerd to Know basis, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll be back next week with a more Christmassy goodness, because it is the season. But here on this show, as I said, next week we're going to be talking about Jingle All the Way 1 and 2, covering some of the news that's coming up as well. Martin, but it is coming to the end of the year, so we're going to do our end of year show very, very soon. So I need to talk to James Truepenny about our year end show and best ofs and whatever. So is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, so it turns out that there's a shop not far from where I live that sells opal fruits, not Starburst. Opal fruits, and my girlfriend doesn't believe it, but I absolutely insist that there is a difference in taste and they are nicer, and I just want all the people to know that I'm right and she's wrong.
So are they made recently, or was like a case from the 90s just found?
But I hope it's like a bring back retro type thing. I
would be concerned.
An unsold case.
Some lads just selling a case from the 90s.
I hope it's not an unsold case that I could have bought with punt.
Yeah, no, I would check the day on that, buddy, just to be sure.
Well,
maybe that's what you're tasting.
They've aged like a fine wine.
Oh man, there is a difference. The strawberry is very different. That's the one that you can taste. They've ruined it, whatever it is.
Oh, even the green is just, it swishes all around your mouth and, stop you.
I think it's the chemicals.
Probably, oh yeah. I mean,
remember the flavors that were in everything in the 90s?
It's not like they're packed full of fruit.
Oh man, no, what was it? It was the E flavor, the E numbers. Remember, there's stuff you could buy and it's just E's, E1275699, and it's just the whole thing, and you're like, pretty sure all of that is dangerous, but you didn't think about it as a 5-year-old. You're like, someone eat all this, great.
No, but I do remember later on in uni, I loved these.
Also, we need to cut out the show at like 5 o'clock. Anyway, folks, again, if you're only checking us out on Phoenix 92.5 FM, what are you doing? Go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com, get all the shows. It's all there for free. We don't have a paywall. And the True Penny channel as well. Tons of content over there, and it's a Patreon time of year as well, so I do give to them, support them, so they can keep their shows free, because they cover a lot of real wrestling. We just have good times here. But yeah, again, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week here on the Wrestling Rewind and American No Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.